Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. For the first time, perhaps ever, the U.S. bishops are finding themselves in a dogfight on Capitol Hill when it comes to them getting and using your tax dollars to destabilize the nation's southern border. The press conference in D.C. last week, which Church Militant covered at length, spoke about the need to end the unfettered, unaccountable access the bishops have to use these funds and getting a hold of them. That was, in fact, the entire point of the press conference. Turns out that segues right into an effort by conservative congressmen to also cut off the flow of some of those dollars, hopefully all of them. And the bishops, well, they're just none too happy about that. The leader of the move is Texas Congressman Lance Gooden, who serves on the U.S. House Judiciary Committee. He's written a letter to DHS Secretary, horrible phony Catholic Alejandro Mayorkas, saying Biden is, quote, allowing non-governmental organizations the freedom to aid and abet illegal aliens. The letter was also signed by Congressman Jake Ellzey of Texas and Tom Tiffany of Wisconsin. Then in May, Gooden fired off another letter, this time to other members of Congress, charging non-governmental organizations, also known as NGOs, of abusing their tax-exempt status by, quote, playing a disturbing role in the inflow and spread of illegal immigrants throughout the country, closed quote. This is Congress talking. Included on his list, you guessed it, Catholic Charities, which of course it should be, since it's the largest recipient of your tax dollars going to support the destruction of that southern border down there of the U.S. There's a now growing number of conservative America First congressmen taking action on this front. Ohio's Jim Jordan has gotten in on the deal, as has Representative Tom McClintock of California. In a separate letter, they accuse Catholic Charities and other NGOs manufacturing what they termed an incentive for illegal immigration. That letter was directed to, again, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and access to a wide array of Department of Homeland Security records about its funding practices. Congress wants to know what's going on with this money. Thank God, finally, they want to have an accountability. Movement has begun in the nation's capital. That's the bottom line here. And the main culprit from an NGO viewpoint has been identified. And as Church Militant, drum roll please, has been reporting for years, it's the U.S. bishops and their Marxist-minded outfit, Catholic Charities. Now, all of this detail only makes sense if it's couched in the larger picture of the penetration of the church by Freemasonry and their shock troops, worldwide communism. The church leaders are quick to portray their work at the border as living out the gospel or something like that, or some other spiritual sounding crap. Well, of course, they have to paint it like that. They aren't going to go put up billboards which say, give us your tax dollars so we can weaken and destroy the republic. But if you fail to understand the connection between America, at least traditionally understood, being an enemy of worldwide communism, also known as globalism, and the need for America to be toppled to advance this ideology, if you don't get that connection, then you failed to grasp the big picture. And all of these little details, they're not going to make any sense to you. In a war, there is a dominant aspect of the war. But the war itself is never directly fought as a thing in itself. It's fought in 1,000 different battles, each of which has their own hundreds of little skirmishes. All of those little things feed into the much larger thing, which feed into the outcome of the war. But the war, as it is in itself, doesn't actually exist, just its outcome. That's what's going on here and has been for more than a century. The undermining and the eventual transformation of both the church and the republic are each linked to this, and the Marxist leaders in the church and the government each understand this completely. Why does it matter if the republic survives intact? Because for all of its many horrible evils and problems, there are, America still has, on the books at least, the foundational principle that man is made in the image and likeness of God and therefore possesses an inherent dignity that governments may not trample. Does the U.S. do this perfectly? Absolutely not even close. Just look at our Baltimore case, for example. In fact, at this point of the cultural deterioration, those words seem to be more lip service than reality. That said, they do still exist, and they must be defended and advanced because they express in political terms a fundamental truth of the universe, that God is real and has created us in His divine image. That is what communism, globalism agitates against and wants to overthrow. And even if America is something of a paper tiger or even hypocritical in its application of that truth quite often, it's still out there. If it didn't matter, global communism would not be fighting so hard to extinguish it. It does matter, and it matters because it is the truth, and the truth always matters. Tax dollars going to the U.S. bishops who use that money to side with anti-American ideologies, not to mention, most importantly, anti-Catholic, they must be opposed, and therefore this becomes one of those many battles in that much larger war. Patriots and Catholics have lost way too many battles in the last few decades, and it's time to at least begin to turn the tide. That's what that D.C. presser was all about last week. The defense of the Republic, even with all of its evils and imperfections, matters because it provides a nest for the advancement of the Catholic faith. It just so happens that we find ourselves in a two-front war, fighting Marxists in the church as well as Marxists in the government. Once you get that, everything becomes crystal clear for you, very clear, and you begin to recognize the importance of each individual battle. God love you. I'm Michael Voris.